Parents who decided to cut contact with your children. What's the story? I have two girls, Jane and Janet. They have two mothers, Susan and Roxanne respectively. I was 19 years old when my first daughter, Jane, was born. Her mother, Susan, decided to leave me when she was about 2 years of age. She wasn't in it anymore and found what she was looking for in the arms of a narcissistic dealer. For a while anyways. Later this would turn to severe alcoholism, depression and so on. Lifelong struggle kind of thing. My eldest daughter has turned into a remarkable young lady, but like anyone, has her own things she deals with. Just shy of 3 years later, my second daughter, Janet, was born to a different mother, Roxanne. We dated but were not really serious, one of those types of things. This was very difficult for me as I was a 22-year-old, already paying child support and was financially and emotionally stunted. Yes, we were careful, thanks. I wasn't ready to deal with this again and that's on me. I wish I had a better mind at the time, but I had almost no contact with my second daughter until she was 7 years of age. I just avoided dealing with the fact that I was a single father with two children and two mothers. It was something that for me, was very difficult to deal with. Her mother, Roxanne, is a decent person, with no direction in life, loves tattoos, never could hold a job, is a great conversationalist, and is obsessed with the alternative lifestyle. I've always paid my child support, but the effect of this on a young person financially is devastating. I am 40 and just now making enough to support myself and my family. I work in IT and was fortunate enough to have a skill in an emerging industry. If you choose this path in life, you work and give up a large portion of yourself and your lifestyle because of the choices you've made. I could not attend college as I had no money and no time. I tried, on 3 separate occasions, to attend a local community college. I eventually couldn't keep up with working 2 jobs and attending school, and raising my daughter by myself. Around the 7-year mark, I made the commitment that I would be involved if my youngest was interested. I had come to my senses that I was being a selfish asshole of a father and I didn't want to be that person anymore. Her mother thought it would be a good thing for everyone. She was starting to hold down a job, finally, and what single mom can't use a break? It was great. I had both the girls over to my home on weekends and we cooked together, watched TV, went to parks. I really enjoyed this time with them and remember it very fondly. Just me and the young ladies that made me a special person. I lived in the Midwest during all this and eventually began to date a woman from the South, who I've known for a very long time. We knew each other as children and have been around each other from time to time our entire lives. This led to long-distance dating and eventually, marriage. She wanted to move to where I was at, but was unable to due to the legal system involving her own children. I made the decision to move south and be with my wife. This was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, as it meant that I wouldn't be around the girls on a regular basis. My girls are 12 and 9 at this point. I moved and found work fairly quickly in the IT world. I paid my child support regularly and caught up on the move gap over the course of 6 months. I began to plan to have my girls come visit and they did from time to time. Jane visited more frequently than Janet as her mother had issues with alcoholism and she wanted to be away from it, and Susan would also help with the travel expenses involved. I also would visit from time to time, and stay with a couple of friends to reduce the expenses involved. Good pals are good pals and it helped me see my kids. Janet would come to visit during the summers, and this part is where things started happening. She was to stay with us for a month during the summer as was agreed upon. Once she came to visit, her mother would constantly be on the phone with her for hours. There was rarely a gap in their constant communication. I expressed to Roxanne that this was the time that we have with Janet and we would like to spend it with her. This was met with she isn't comfortable in the house and misses home. This continued on a daily basis. I asked my daughter if she was nervous about being with us down here and she said yes. I miss my mom. I understand that. Eventually, her mother had a friend drive down with her and picked her up 2 weeks into the visit. Maybe a month was too long for an initial start? I don't know. Next year, we did the same thing. Had both girls down for the summer, and agreed that the visit would be 3 weeks. Once again, my eldest was excited to be here and my youngest couldn't get off the phone with her mother. Once again, I expressed that we would like to have the time with her that we are allowed, and once again, the visit was cut short, this time, 1 week after she had arrived. Frustrating. Eventually, my Jane moved in with us and attended her first 2 years of high school. She wanted to be with us for a while to get away from the things at home. Again, Susan had a very bad alcohol problem. Jane wasn't happy in the home she'd said and wanted a fresh start going into high school. My wife and I agreed and she moved in with us. During her sophomore year, Jane came to me one night and said, "Dad, Janet is telling people that you forced yourself onto her." I was absolutely floored. The first thing I remember was confusion, anger, panic. I called but Janet refused to talk to me, though she did say that she didn't want to be my daughter and that she hated me. I tried contacting Roxanne and her response was, "I'm not sure what's going on." As Janet would only talk to Jane once in a while now, slowly Jane got a story out of her. When she would come visit, she was uncomfortable in the house and wasn't comfortable with any physical affection. Yes, I am aware of the signs, but I'm also the one being accused. I attempted over the next 6 to 8 months to make contact with Roxanne or Janet but was met with "she isn't ready" kind of statements. I recall asking directly, "Do you really believe that I'm capable of something like this?" Answer: "No, but I don't know what to think." Plainly, Janet just didn't seem to want contact. This changed me. I went into depression, withdrew from my family and still feel affected on a daily basis. I'm a mess sometimes. My mind is confused, I have panic episodes, difficult time focusing on tasks. I had frequent anger outbursts, the list goes on. 3 years pass. One day, Roxanne calls and I asked about Janet. She's doing good, keeping herself together even though I know she is a mess. Eventually, I made contact with Janet over text messages. She expresses to me that she's sorry and that she didn't feel that I forced myself onto her and she wants to be a part of my life and that she is glad I didn't give up on her and wants to try harder and loves me. I am glad, but can see that there are some serious emotional issues with this child. I also cannot help but feel that I am responsible for this due to my uninvolvement when she was young. My bed takes some serious weight. Janet is 17 now. I've sent birthday and Christmas wishes and all those kinds of things and expressed that I care for her and would love to see her, but it is completely one-sided. She never calls, nor makes attempts at communication. I see her on social media frequently with just the trashiest things, talking about intimacy, substances, that sort of thing. She's obsessed with her appearance and how men perceive her. I gave up trying to communicate with her this year in January. The last thing I said to her was that I loved her. I think she is a wonderful young lady, and I'm here for her if she ever wants to talk or come visit. I would welcome her with open arms. I haven't heard a word back, but I watch from a distance and sometimes, I am disgusted from the window from which I have to watch her. I am afraid that she is turning into a very trashy young lady and it's like watching something you know you can't affect. Update: my girlfriend just broke up with me because of her friends. I picked up the ring since it was already paid for, then put it in the box I made for it. I did go to her parents' house. As soon as I pulled up, Kate opened the door and ran out. She had been crying. When he gave me a hug I accepted, but it wasn't how I usually hug. She then tried to kiss me. I moved my head and backed up. We went in and sat down. We sat for about 10 minutes not saying anything. She started crying and said she was sorry. I just responded with okay. I asked her what she told everyone. She told the truth. Kate used the word catatonic to describe me after I walked away. I asked her why she broke up with me. She didn't give me a straight answer. Something about people at work constantly talking bad about me, and playing on her insecurities. I asked her why she kept letting that happen and not put a stop to it by setting clear boundaries. She said that she tried and it would work for a day but would go back the next. I asked if she saw value in me as a person or in our relationship. She said that she does in both. I asked why would she break up over something a random stranger said about me. She said she was sorry and it was a dumb mistake. I asked how did they know about me or our relationship and how much did they talk about me? The ladies at the salon overheard Kate talk to some of our friends or customers while she was working about me. Things we did like dates, birthday parties, etc. Did she believe her coworkers were right? She said no. I then followed up with why? She said again she did not know. I asked her if there was someone else. She immediately said no. She has never cheated or been tempted to. She offered me her phone which I declined. I then told her how I felt. Sorry isn't enough. If she wants this relationship she needs to prove it to me. I didn't care that her coworkers kept talking about us. It's that you listened. It isn't what they said that hurts. It's the fact that you kept listening to it and repeated it back to me. She didn't try hard enough to stop them. It makes me feel like she had to feel the same way to an extent. That is what hurt and damaged the relationship. That her insecurities are what broke my trust. I will now always think that this might happen again. She will run off at the next opportunity. She asked why I just walked away. I told her that at that moment, I was growing and making moves for that future. She started crying harder. I felt bad. The next thing I did I regret. I asked her if she knew I was going to propose soon. She said no. I pulled out and showed her the box. I made the box as well. It has 2 buttons, one that says yes and one that says no. It has lights that say will you be my life partner? I set it on the table and pressed yes. The box opened and she started to cry even harder. The ring has both of our birthstones that form the shape of a completed heart with small diamonds surrounding it. Laser engraved initials and date of our anniversary. I had it made so that it could be added onto if we had kids. Her parents were there but were more just to make sure things kept civil. Her mom was crying and her dad looked mad but not at me. They both made comments about the ring and box. I told her that the future I had planned was not going to happen anymore. We need to give each other space. At least 3 months of no communication. We need to take a step back and look at who we are and what we want moving forward. After that, we will see where we are at. But this is on my terms and timeline. I can't return the ring so I don't know what to do with it. Might end up just giving it to her if things don't work out. After 3 months or longer, she said that most of our shared friends told her off and blocked her. Her parents are mad and her little sister hasn't talked to her since the first night. I said I'm sorry but actions have consequences. I wished her the best, thanked her parents for all they have done for me and hugged them. Ex-prisoners, what was the worst thing you saw inside? I spent a couple weeks in county jail. On the first day, when we were all being processed into the facility, we were told very succinctly to never ever even joke about taking your life while in the facility. Kind of like how you just don't say bomb on an airplane anymore. By day 3, I had a good understanding of the other guys I was locked up with. I was physically the biggest of the white guys in our pod, so all the white kids huddled around my table at meals. There was one kid in the group that seemed underdeveloped mentally. He probably had a learning disability among other things, but he essentially acted like a 12-year-old. I knew early on he was going to get himself in trouble because he never stopped talking or moving, and he was rubbing everyone the wrong way. I tried to tell him to chill out and be invisible, but he was not understanding what I was telling him. I had been there a week, when the 12-year-old finally lost his cool completely. He was in the shower, singing and joking around, putting on a performance that went too far, and he pooped on the floor as a joke. After the other guys in the shower grabbed their towels and ran, he proceeded to kick the poop all over the walls and into the other shower stalls. It turned into a big scene, and then when the trustees came in to clean up the poop all over the walls it turned into an even bigger scene. The whole time, the 12-year-old was locked in a cell near the showers, laughing and joking as other inmates had to clean up his poop and make the shower area sanitary again. State-run facilities have standards after all. The next day, everyone was looking at the 12-year-old with hate in their eyes. Everyone missed their showers the day prior due to the poop incident. And then the kid was still up to his antics at breakfast the next day. Everyone got really cold toward him, even openly mean. I'll admit, I started ignoring him completely after the poop. It took him a day or two to realize he was hated by all, and then his personality changed dramatically. He became sad, despondent, and started talking to the COs because the other inmates wouldn't talk to him anymore. He messed up, and told the COs that he should just take his life and make everyone happy, and that was all it took. They dragged out the blue burrito. This is the scariest thing I had seen in jail. The blue burrito was a 10-foot-long blue foam mat. They laid it out on the floor, forced the 12-year-old to lay on the mat, and then they rolled him up with his arms at his sides into the blue burrito. The two long red belts clipped together at the top and bottom of the burrito, keeping it all nice and tight. This was the protocol at the jail. No counseling, no medical ward. You lose the ability to move. They put that poor guy in the burrito around 8 p.m., dragged him into his cell and left him laying on the floor, wrapped up tight, until breakfast the next morning. Around 8 o'clock a.m. imagine being unable to move, barely able to breath, with no end in sight for 12 hours on the floor of your 8x8 cell. My cell was up above his, and I heard him weeping and moaning in agony all night. He didn't say a word to anyone, or look anyone in the eye for that matter, for the rest of the time I was there. One night in the blue burrito broke him.